Nigel Farage drops bombshell about Keir Starmer's backroom agreement. Why weren't we told? You're not going to believe what Nigel Farage just said on air. While the headlines were obsessing over polls, cabinet reshuffles, and who said what on Question Time, something else was brewing quietly in the background. And now, it's out. Because Nigel Farage has just dropped a political grenade that's already shaking up the entire campaign landscape, and it's all centered around Labour leader Keir Starmer. Farage is claiming that Starmer's team struck what he calls a backroom agreement, the kind of arrangement the public was never supposed to hear about. And it's not just what was agreed that's causing outrage, it's who it allegedly involved. On his podcast and during a follow-up appearance on GB News, Nigel Farage pulled no punches. He held up a stack of notes, referring to what he described as verified internal briefings, and then delivered the line that's now gone viral. There was a deal, a quiet understanding, between Keir Starmer's people and figures they've never wanted the public to associate them with. He didn't say corruption. He didn't say illegal. But he did say this. This isn't about lawbreaking. This is about honesty. This is about transparency. And most importantly, this is about trust. Farage then outlined what he believes is the crux of the deal. That Starmer's team allegedly signaled a "don't interfere" understanding with certain local activist groups and lobbying blocs, particularly those that have influence over key urban voting blocs, in exchange for quieter public criticism on issues like immigration policy and local policing. To the average viewer, that might sound like typical political strategy. But to Farage and his supporters, it's being painted as yet another example of what they call two-faced politics. Publicly, they say one thing. Behind the scenes, it's apparently a different tune. Now, here's where it gets messy and very real. The Labour Party has not issued a detailed denial of the accusation. Instead, a spokesperson simply said, Keir Starmer and the Labour Party remain committed to a transparent, united government that serves the interests of all Britons. But that vague language didn't go unnoticed, and neither did the silence from key Labour figures on the matter. In fact, one well-known journalist from The Spectator posted this. If this deal never happened, why not just say so clearly? And online, the public reaction exploded. On Twitter, one user wrote, "So now Labour's picking and choosing who gets to shape policy behind closed doors? We didn't vote for that." Another, "I don't even support Farage, but if what he's saying is accurate, that's not politics, that's manipulation." Even some Labour voters are unsettled. One reply said, "I've supported Labour since the Blair years, but this constant dodging of tough questions is starting to wear thin." And then there's the timing. This revelation or allegation, depending on who you ask, comes just as Labour is trying to frame itself as the grown-up party, the one that will restore integrity and calm after the chaos of recent Tory governments. But if Farage's claims gain more traction, that image could begin to crack. Because this story isn't just about one arrangement. It's about how much the public is allowed to know, and when. And let's be real, this isn't a one-off pattern. People remember the quiet reshuffles, the vague manifestos, the polished soundbites that never seem to match what's really happening behind the curtain. Farage tapped into something here, not just political strategy, but public frustration. He said in his broadcast, "The British people are smart. They know when they're being played. This isn't about left or right anymore, it's about whether you're being told the truth. And love him or hate him, you know exactly why that struck a nerve. Because voters right now are tired. Tired of scandals, tired of spin, and tired of politicians who only speak clearly when there's no cost." So what happens now? Will Starmer's team come out and fully address these allegations? Will journalists dig deeper and confirm whether any informal understandings were actually made? Or will this story, like so many others, get buried under the next big headline? Already, GB News, Talk TV, and even segments on LBC have picked up the story. Some are calling it Farage fearmongering. Others, they're asking if this could finally peel away some of Labour's soft support. Because if even a fraction of what Farage said turns out to be true, or just widely believed to be true, it could reshape the entire election conversation. So here's the bottom line. This isn't about one deal. It's about the growing feeling that the real decisions, the real conversations are happening behind locked doors, away from the people they actually affect. And that feeling, That's what drives political upsets. That's what brings unexpected outcomes. That's what gets ordinary people off the couch and into protest. And the question remains, if this is just one revelation, how many more are waiting to be uncovered? Stay tuned, because this one isn't going away quietly.